the heart and soul behind every business. Stories. Welcome to Business Story of the Week, hosted by me, Joshua Laurie. From setbacks to comebacks, from tragedies to triumphs, we inspire entrepreneurs through conversations that matter. Witness the magic that turns dreams into reality. Whether it's your career, business, or life, your success is always one story away. This is Business Story of the Week. And welcome back, folks. Welcome back to Business Story of the Week. I am your host, Joshua. And today, the question is, how does one turn a business disaster into a blueprint for e-commerce success? Well, our guest today is hopefully, definitely rather, the person to answer that question. Phil Masiello is the founder of Crunch Growth, a seasoned entrepreneur with a profound impact on e-commerce and business strategy. He started his entrepreneurial journey at 27 and holds an MBA in marketing and finance. Phil's venture include pioneering e-commerce for the meal industry and transforming raw essentials, an international beauty brand. He also demonstrated innovative, innovative PR strategies with 800razors.com, and his agency Crunch Growth excels in maximizing sales for consumer product brands, particularly in food and personal care. Phil also hosts Think, Engage, Drive on E360 TV, interviewing leading experts to inspire new business leaders. His story is one of the most resilient, learning from early failures and committing to transformative thinking. Phil's work is, his entire site, philmasiello.com, offers mentoring and coaching and aspiring entrepreneurs. His strategic acumen, dedication to innovation in e-commerce realm. We're going to dig into all of that today. Phil is going to share that. Phil, thank you so much for coming on. How are you
Yeah,
doing today?
good. I'm doing good. My pleasure. Thanks for the introduction.
Fantastic. I mean, Phil, this is quite, again, I'm quite interested, of course, when it comes to, you are quite the giant. I mean, the titan. The word isn't, it doesn't always apply to people, but to you, it applies. You're a titan in the e-commerce industry, but this is a question I want to ask to start off. I always start off with this. Did you know you were always going to be in e-commerce? Did you know you were always going to be in that kind of realm, in that industry? Talk to us about that. What is the story of Phil Masiello? What path and what happened in your life that led you to this direction?
Yeah. Well, I was always in the direct to consumer world. I started out in brick and mortar retail. I my
Right.
first business my first business was a store, a food store, which was a disaster, and we could talk about
Oh,
that later.
uh-huh.
But it was not good. Um, and then I went to got my graduate degree, and then I got involved in a bigger company as an investor, and I really honed my understanding as a customer. And when I saw the opportunity with e-commerce as
Hmm.
a expanding channel or an expansion channel in the early 2000s, and then we moved into skincare where we were omni-channel. We were on the shopping channels with that brand, plus e-commerce, plus Amazon, um, plus retail stores like Ulta Beauty and Sephora and so on. So
Hmm.
we were, uh, but we were one of the first brands on the Amazon platform when Bezos opened it up to more than just books and CDs and music and video. And what I really learned to love about e-commerce, what I really love about, and I still love about it, is when you have brick and mortar stores, you guess a lot about your metrics and what they
Right.
tell you.
Hmm.
But on e-commerce, your metrics are finite. You can understand it. If you run an ad, you can see what that ad does. If you have brick and mortar stores, you run an ad, you don't know what that did. I mean, you can guess, well, I got a bump in sales and it probably came from these ads, but
Right.
you can't tie it. I can tie results to a specific ad. I can tie results to a specific effort. I can look at how consumers look at how people visitors look at a site. I can see everything, and to me, I just love that because you can make better decisions off of that.
Yes, precisely. And there's like
So
there's more data, there's more specific data around it, right? There's no, you're not, like you said, you don't really second guess, you're not really trying to feel it out. With e-commerce, it's there, it's clear, and you can make decisions off of that. And again, it's a great way to start us off because you're already giving us really great insight when it comes to this industry. But more than that, Phil, you started your entrepreneurial journey at 27. I'm
yeah.
sure you've faced so many challenges. You've faced a lot of experiences. Can you share early on experiences that taught you and how it shaped your future ventures?
My first um, business that I started when I was 27, it was an absolute disaster.
Wow.
And it was, I failed as a leader. I failed as a manager of process. I
Hmm.
failed in so many different ways. I
Hmm.
was working 7 days a week, 12, 14 hours a day, and just spending too much time working in the business, not enough time working on the business, wasn't training people correctly, wasn't leading people. Every day was sort of a shoot from the hip. People didn't know what they were. It was just wasn't good.
Hmm.
I wasn't good. I wasn't as good as I thought I was,
Hmm.
and I was a hard worker, but
Hmm.
that was it. And I did it for 4 years, and I sold it. Made a little bit of money. Not. I probably would have done better if I worked for McDonald's for 4 years. And I took the money and I went to graduate school.
Hmm.
And I didn't go to graduate school because I um, thought that that was going to solve my problem with understanding leadership and process management. I did it because I thought I needed to think differently about business, which I did get out of graduate school.
Hmm.
But the beauty of when I went to graduate school, I saw an opportunity with another company that was doing something similar to what I was trying to do in New York. And I wound up investing in that company. And
Hmm.
there they had more seasoned, they were entrepreneurs, but they were more seasoned.
Right, right.
And I learned, really refined and learned more about leadership and process management and systems. And, but I still carry to this day, doesn't matter what I'm doing. I always think about what I did and the mistakes I made in that first business. And
Yeah,
I'll never make them again. I make
yeah,
other mistakes, but I don't make those mistakes.
yeah. But now, so you got into this network, you transferred, you learned from. I love this, by the way, because I always go back to this idea and this thought where you're told you shouldn't be you should be around people who are better than you, right? You
Hmm.
should be around people who know, because you learn faster that way, you grow faster that way. And you took that experience, you now is what considered as a pioneer in the e-commerce industry, because you pioneered the meal e-commerce industry, right? What inspired you to take that leap? Is it connected to this network that you mentioned that you joined? And what were some key strategies that led to you being successful when pioneering the meal e-commerce industry? Talk to us a bit about that, Phil.
Well, I had retail stores. We had
Hmm.
retail stores,
Hmm.
and we were looking for other outlets. I think, we there were a couple of things that we did. We had specialty food stores in Washington D.C. and around that area,
Hmm.
and you know we had a food as a gift. We had gift basket business, and the first thing I did was I I systematized that because every store had their own sort of world. And then we built a catalog because it was a big business. We were dealing with the government. We were dealing with people that were buying 50, 60, 70 gift baskets, just like you see from all those companies, food is a gift. Um, and we were in the specialty food business. And so I saw that as an opportunity, and I built a catalog because I wanted to systematize it and make it so that it was consistent. And the second thing I did was I was shopping in this big mall out in Tyson's Corner, one of the biggest in the country. And
Mm-hmm.
I was coming down the escalator and I noticed that this prime location store, it was a jewelry store, was closed, and it was September. And I started thinking about it, going, hey, what I wonder what these malls do, because
Uh-huh.
two jewelry companies had merged, so they only
Okay.
needed one store. So I went to see the manager, and I said, can we rent that store just for the holidays? So it was like a
Okay.
pop-up store before that was popular.
Right.
And so anyway, I had done so much on this food as a gift, and it was profitable. And then when the internet, was out there, I thought maybe we can just move this catalog online
Mm-hmm.
and start selling food online. And it worked. I mean, back in those days, it was a lot different.
Mm-hmm.
The way that it was challenging because the infrastructure wasn't built out as it is today.
Okay.
FedEx, UPS, shipping wasn't the way that it is today. So it was
Mm-hmm.
it was new for them and it was new for us.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, it became a significant business, and
Right.
yeah,
Wow. And so now, um, Phil, you took that leap, and it became a significant, became big success now. And how did that? How did you go from that to now Crunch Growth? I want to talk a little bit about Crunch Growth this time.
yeah,
It's become a significant player in the e-commerce marketing as well. What do you think set you apart, and what were the approach that you had to maximize this for consumer product brands?
yeah. So again, we were early. I was an early innovator in e-commerce, and then we went on and we built Raw Beauty, Raw Essentials, which was a skincare brand, an omni-channel.
Hmm.
And then after that, I built a shaving brand. And one of our partners in the shaving brand was a uh, uh, major razor manufacturer. And there's
Okay.
only a couple of major razor manufacturers in the
Yeah.
world.
Hmm.
And so we had a point of differentiation. We had a made in the USA razor, et cetera. So after we sold that business, that company came to me and said, I don't know what you plan on doing now that you sold. And obviously they had to be involved in the sale because they were partners, but they said, we have no direct to consumer business. Everything we do is B2B. We sell to supermarkets, drugstores, club stores, super centers. We do private label for some companies, but we don't do anything direct to consumer. And we need to understand that. All
Hmm.
of our websites are B2B focused. We sell to Amazon. We don't sell on Amazon. So they said, we would like you to help us get that done. And I said, well, I'm not really a good consultant. They said, we don't want you to be a consultant. You do this for us, and we'll pay you to
Right.
execute. We need these
Hmm.
sites built. We need to be on Amazon. We need to do all these things. So I hired a couple of people that worked with me in the past, and we started doing it. So we had basically a built-in client,
Hmm.
and that started essentially Crunch Growth. So we started out building websites, and this company had several brands, so it
Right.
wasn't a small it wasn't a small job. And so you know I thought to myself, well, this is just going to be a one-off thing. I'll get this done, and meanwhile I'll figure out what I'm going to do next. But I was sitting at the dining room table, and my wife said, what are you going to do? And I explained it to her, and she said, well, it sounds like you have a business, so you might as well process it and make sure you do it right. So then once we did that, we started getting other clients, people that they recommended, and others, and it turns out that people liked us because of a couple of things. One, we approach it as in a very entrepreneurial way. So when we're
Yeah.
working with a brand, we're
Uh-huh.
not like other people, and maybe it's not good from a profitability standpoint, but when we run ads for people, we
Right.
don't take a percentage of the spend, because I'm against that, because we're not looking for ways for you to spend more money every year. We're looking for ways for you to spend less money but get more conversions. So we're
Right.
thinking like entrepreneurs. We just charge a flat rate when we run ads. We charge for the creative that we make. So we have a full in-house creative team. But the thing that sets us apart is our entrepreneurial background, the length of time that we've been doing this, because we've
Mm-hmm.
been, in e-commerce for almost 20 years, focused on the consumer. We understand the consumer. There's a lot of agencies that pop up because some guy read a book or some guy watched a video on YouTube, but
Mm-hmm.
there's nothing that's going to, really help you out more than when you can sit in front of a client and say, I know this is what you want to do, but we did this in such and such and it didn't work. And here's why it didn't work. So what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying to you is I'll save you a lot of money and time and aggravation. Here's the path you have to go down.
Right.
And most of the time, because we're so focused on metrics, most of the time, it works out. We
Yeah.
only focus on brands. We don't
Yes.
take on clients that are resellers,
Uh-huh.
and we turn down a lot of clients that we don't think we can help, because if you're just a Me Too product, the first question we ask people is, what can you say about your product or your brand that your competitors can't say? Because if
Right.
you can't figure that out,
Yeah.
then it's really difficult to help you. If you just say, I have a new pasta sauce and
Right.
there's nothing different about it, it's tomatoes and spices. Okay, then how do you expect us to market that? Like what's
Exactly.
going to, so and the brand story could be the owner of the company or the founder of the company. It could be
Mm-hmm.
it could, because people love, consumers today connect better with brands that are driven by a person or driven by a purpose.
Right.
And so, if you're somebody who had hearing problems and you create a hearing aid company, that's more
Right.
relatable than somebody saying, I work for Bausch and Lomb and we created this great hearing aid.
Yes.
So we like to work with brands that have some sort of point of differentiation.
Wow. And this is again, this is like a very kind of like a important a significant approach, or rather a unique approach that allowed you to kind of be a significant player in the e-commerce field. I want to touch up a little bit on your strategies, because you mentioned the razor company that you worked with. You worked with 800 razors, and you showcased creative PR, right? Could you share
Yeah.
to us an example, a particularly successful campaign that made you stand out? Talk to us a bit about that. You're laughing, you're smiling right now. Talk to us about it.
Well, like everybody who starts out, when you're building a brand, you generally, you start out running ads and you start out doing SEO and all those things. And we were
Hmm.
doing it when we first started, and I wasn't getting the results that I wanted. And I thought we did some very creative ads, but they just weren't connecting. And we needed to do something that sets us apart, that breaks through the clutter, right? That
Right.
makes you stand out and
Hmm.
stops the customer and gets them to go, oh. So I'm a baseball fan, so I woke up one morning reading. I was reading um, the sports news on my phone, and I
Yeah.
saw that Brian Wilson, who was a pitcher for the San Francisco Giants, wa he had Tommy John surgery, got traded to the Dodgers, and he had this huge beard, this epic beard. I mean, it was his signature. And
Hmm.
so I said, let's offer him $1 million to shave with our razor. And so we sent an email to his team, his people, his managers, and said, we'll pay Brian $1 million to shave with our razor. And all we really wanted was for them to respond and say, we'll run it by Brian. Because
Hmm.
once they said that, then we could legitimately say we're in discussions with Brian Wilson to shave with our razor for $1 million. And we got that. And so we gave that to our PR firm, who then pushed it out. And the next thing you knew, we had millions of people that were mad at us because they were saying, how could you offer a guy $1 million who's already a millionaire? What's wrong with you people? Then they started sending us pictures of body parts saying, I'll shave this for 10,000. I'll shave this for 5,000. And then all the sports news and the sports radio, all the way from Japan, France, everywhere, started interviewing us, going, "What's
Uh-huh.
wrong with you guys? You're going to give a guy $1 million just to shave with a razor? I mean, there's something wrong here." But the
Uh-huh.
point was that we got all this huge earned media, all this press,
Hmm.
and it became this huge discussion,
Right.
and we got orders out of it. That's sort of what launched us, and this
That's
lasted
it.
about 10 days, maybe 10 to 14 days. And we were constantly being interviewed. We were in all the major newspapers, magazines, sports. It's still out there on the internet. And
Yeah.
then about it started to die off. And then TMZ caught Brian Wilson coming out of a gym in Los Angeles, and they asked him, "Are you going to shave your beard for $1 million?" He
Yeah.
said, "I'm not shaving my beard for anything." Well, that started the whole thing all up again, because then
Uh,
people were outraged that the guy would turn down $1 million. So then they were calling us up. Why would he turn it down? What could possibly, blah, blah, blah. It didn't matter to us, because it was just the 3 weeks or 4 weeks of earned media that we got that sort of launched us, and
yeah.
it enabled us. So I tell people all the time, what you have to, sometimes when you're not, you could have a great product, you could have a great story, you could have all these things, but maybe ads aren't going to break through. You need to think about what's going to get you noticed. What is the thing that's going to get you noticed? There was a hot sauce guy that we knew, and he created a product called Insanity Sauce, and his whole point was, it's super hot, it's totally insane, blah blah blah. And he used to show up in a straitjacket to
Right.
reinforce the insanity, and he got a lot of publicity about it. He'd
Oh
go to
wow.
these shows, go to hot sauce shows and things like that. And
Mhm.
so there's a lot of things you can do, and a lot of things you have to do. There was Yes to Carrots, the guy who founded Yes to Carrots, which was a
Yeah.
skincare brand. He used to show up for meetings with retailers like Walgreens or Target or whatever, dressed up as a carrot. And you
Hmm.
know, sometimes you have to take things and try and do something that gets your brand noticed.
Yes, of course. How do you maintain this inspiration, Phil? Because this is, of course, you had that, you had this campaign with 800 razors, and you talk about that hot sauce guy, a straight jacket, and these are ideas that needs you, that allows you to put yourself out there, right? How does Crunch Growth keep up with that? How do you maintain to have these ideas and always making sure that these brands are always full visibility of its consumers?
Well, that's a tough one, because we there's only so much we can do.
Of course.
Um, we're not in charge. We're not fully in charge of the brand
Mm-hmm.
that we work with, or the brands that we work with. Sometimes they listen to us and they
Mm-hmm.
get the desired results.
Yeah.
Sometimes it becomes a little bureaucratic, or they don't want to take risks, or they're conservative. But we give them the ideas, and that's what we can do. We can come up with the ideas, and we can say, you should do this, you should do this. When they listen to us, it works. When sometimes they don't listen and they struggle, and we keep going back to it, saying, if you did this, it'll work. If you did this, it'll work. And it just depends on the brand. But we like to come up with ideas, and we don't do things that are going to damage a brand. We never come up with an idea that we think is so bad that people are going to you know fall be mad at the brand. But brands have to be receptive to understanding it. And it's you'll find in this world, I pay attention to the business news every day.
Right.
And a lot of times there are brands that go out of business. Bed
Mm-hmm.
Bath and Beyond went out of business, and
Yeah. Yeah.
companies like that. Tuesday Morning, and
Mm-hmm.
people go, "Oh, well, it's the economy." It wasn't the economy. The economy didn't kill Bed Bath and Beyond. I'm sure there were a lot of people telling them what to do, but they chose not to do it. Believe it or not, Bed Bath and Beyond, which has been around for 50 years, they never embraced e-commerce. They never embraced e-commerce. When you look at
Interesting.
their website, even up until like 2018, their website was only a place for you to download coupons. They didn't sell on
Interesting.
e-commerce. So,
Wow.
you want to know what killed them. The same thing, you go back in time and you look at Borders Books, right? Everybody goes, "Oh, Amazon killed Borders Books." Amazon didn't kill Borders Books. Borders Books killed Borders Books. Borders Books did not embrace uh, e-commerce. They actually gave e-commerce to Amazon because they wanted it off their books. This is a
Wow.
losing proposition. We're going to build stores. This is customers are always going to come to the stores. Well, 2 years later, they gave their customers to Amazon, and they were out of business. So brands aren't always as smart as everybody thinks they are, and
Mhm.
sometimes they don't want to take risks. They don't want to listen to innovative ideas. They're afraid to innovate. It depends on who you're dealing with because a lot of people are afraid to make decisions. So, we probably, I would say 60 to 70% of the brands we work with are willing to do things that are unique and different and get exposure. And 30% are happy with what they're doing. And yeah,
That's
so
very, very interesting. And I love that insight because you said they didn't get killed. They killed themselves by not embracing the e-commerce. Of course it is. Like the more now that I think about it really, how many companies really were successful, not were just successful or thrived in e-commerce. You can only I can only come up with a few, like now, and there's only uh, of course, there's Amazon, right? And this is pretty the probably the most successful right now. But Phil, as we begin wrapping this up, and this is an insight that I want to uh, dig into your experience and your expertise, your extensive
sure.
want into this, but how are you seeing e-commerce into the future? You've done this for a long, long, long time, but we have a longer future ahead of us. What is e-commerce going to be like in the future? But more than that, Phil, what are the future aspirations of Phil Masiello?
Well, I mean, we're always, I'll answer number two first. Crunch
Please.
Growth and Phil Masiello, we're always looking for innovative ideas. We work with brands from
Hmm.
the Fortune 100 on down to startups. We look for
Right, right,
creative companies. We don't have a one size fits all profit pricing model. So for us, we're always looking for innovative ways. I love what I do because every day I learn something new because the e-commerce world changes so rapidly. Some things work, some things don't. I don't always pay attention to the hype about something.
right.
Um, influencers are the thing that are going to drive e-commerce. We don't, we sort of, AI is going to take over e-commerce. You're not going to need marketing firms. You can just build your own ads through AI, which I think is never going to happen because everybody leaves out the customer. And I can tell you that when you look back in the rearview mirror of business failures, the
Right.
businesses that failed lost sight of who the customer is and what the customer does.
Hmm.
And so we always try and focus on keeping an eye on the customer so that we can translate that to our clients. As far as e-commerce goes, again, what's the thing that drives conversions today? And it's ease of use, right? Everybody has, I think 94.7% of the buying public in the United States has the Amazon app on their phone, and the Amazon app makes it easy to buy. They hear about something, they go to Amazon, boom, they click, and
Yep.
they're done.
Oh,
So that tells you that the easier that you can make your transaction, the
right.
better off you are. I mean, it
Yeah.
amazes me how many brands I look at that still focus on building a desktop first site. And you sit there going, 80% of your traffic is mobile, and you're worried about what the desktop looks like. Look
Oh,
at what your
wow. Of
mobile looks
course.
like, and how are you going to get customers through there? So people are always going to buy online. It's continuing to grow. When you look at the penetration in certain categories, in some categories, it's not even 50%. 50% of it's still being bought at brick and mortar retail. So
Yeah.
I think that it's going to be ease of use, more mobile focus, more voice activated, more video activations. So it's really focused on what we're seeing now, which is video first, mobile first, voice activations, ease of use, quick checkouts, and
And
delivering a
AI?
great product. Pardon?
How about AI?
Well, AI. AI to me is a component of all that, right?
Right, of
We have
course.
AI. We've been using AI in our agency for years.
Of course.
Certainly, chatbots. Certainly
Mm.
communication. Certainly, voice activation. That's
Hmm.
all AI driven, right?
Yes, yes,
Certainly, the ability to use AI as an interpreter of the data. It to
yes.
me is the most important thing.
Hmm.
So AI is to me is embedded in everything we do at this point.
Yes.
I'm not a big fan of creating ads and images out of AI. I
Yep.
don't.
Yep.
We've tested a bunch of systems, and the customers don't relate to it. They see it's
Yeah.
fake, and that relates to your product. Because if you don't believe in your product enough to create a beautiful image, and you just want to use a fake image, well, what is your product going to do? So I think AI for those types of things is not. I think you still have to build your creative. Are there, can you use AI to do a better job of editing video? Absolutely. For putting content, absolutely. But as far as just AI taking over, I don't see it. AI to us is a tool. It's embedded in everything we do, and you just have
Ever
to use it as a
since.
tool.
And it's been there ever since. We just, it's just been become more
Yeah,
prominent, but it's been part of our lives for a very long time.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. We generate content with it, written content. We generate emails with it. We still run it through Grammarly, and we still put human eyes on it because,
Precisely.
but it gets us 60% of the way there, 70% of the way. We do a lot of idea generation using AI tools. We do a lot of tasks with AI, a lot of data
Mhm.
interpretation with AI.
Um, Phil, this has been really insightful, and I'm also, of course, always very interested to talk to again industry giants like you are, Phil. As we wrap this up, let us know where we can find you, where you're more interested in, where we can learn about Crunch Growth, and what else can we figure out and learn from Phil Masiello.
Well, you can get, you can always get me Phil at crunchgrowth.com, and you can
Hmm.
always see crunchgrowth.com, Phil at philmasiello.com. Philmasiello.com is another one of my sites. I've written a couple of books. You can buy those on Amazon. And I have a show on E360 TV every Tuesday at 6 p.m. Um, which I also, it's on my YouTube channel as well,
Yeah,
copies of it, and you can also see it on my website. So, and we interview entrepreneurs and people who have founded businesses and learn from what they've done and how they've been innovative, which I love. So,
fantastic, fantastic, and of course, that's always a fun thing to do. It's always fun to get into the insights and minds of others as well. Successful entrepreneurs. It's a way to mentor future listeners and audience and listeners like ourselves as well, and like what we have here on this show. Phil, thank you so much for joining us today. Anything else? One last thing that you leave to the audience and listeners today. Take us home.
yeah, anybody who's starting a business, has a business, struggling in business, whatever, always go back to the point of the thought of what can I say about my business that my competitors cannot say, and use that to your advantage. Do something innovative with it that breaks through the clutter. It's the
Very
best thing
interesting.
you can do for
Very,
yourself.
very insightful. Phil, thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much for your insights, your wisdom onto here. It has been great. Uh, Thank you for coming on the show.
Yeah, thank you. I enjoyed it. I appreciate you having me on.
Fantastic. And to all our audience and listeners out there, see you on the next one.
All right, so here's the thing. We try to get a little bit better every day, but we can't do it without you. So if you like the video, make sure to like and subscribe below. And if you have any comments, just leave them in the space under.